I want winners. I want people that want to win.
You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.
You got to put your money where your mouth is, Pete.
It's not gambling advice. Wednesday, May 11th. Welcome to Not Gambling Advice. I'm Peter Appel. That's Colby Olson. We are buying or selling some hot starts today. And I know we've kind of been going over this a lot, but there are so many intriguing players that we haven't gotten the opportunity to speak on. So that's what Colby and I are going to do today. Both of us have a hitter and a pitcher who are off to really hot starts. We're going to tell you whether we think this is going to continue or whether maybe you should start selling high. And we also have two players that are having slow starts to the 2022 season that we may be buying. Yeah, these guys aren't that good anymore. Or no, this is the time to buy low. Colby Olson, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, dude? I think I have two before we get started that I don't think that they're necessarily, I think they're slow starts for a reason. And I just kind of want to touch on them real quick. Right? I think they're slow starts that we expected, and now they're breaking out because they're rookies. We have Bobby Witt Jr., who over his last 60 plate appearances, 298 average, 6 runs, 4 RBIs, 4 stolen bases. He's starting to get into a little bit more power, but the big difference is, Peter, he's starting to hit in the leadoff hole. He's hit leadoff in the last 2 games, and we've always been preaching this, right? You got to give these rookies a chance. It took Bobby Witt 60 plate appearances. Here's another rookie who it took 60 plate appearances. Julio Rodriguez, last 68 plate appearances. He's been even better, man. He has hit 339, 8 runs, 7 RBIs, 6 stolen bases. Julio leads the league in stolen bases right now with 10 bags. He's run on everybody. And another guy that just made a lineup change. He's hitting third in that Mariners lineup. Now he's hit there twice. In the last 2 games, he's hit third. Give these rookies a second.
Give these rookies a second. They're not. Remember, COVID really hurt a lot of these rookies, right? I mean, not every single rookie, because some guys were, of course, drafted after COVID, but a lot of these guys, you know, they're playing 2019, got the whole minor league season cut out, and then 2021, they didn't have that much time to catch up. And then 2022, we're in the middle of a lockout. So we were all expecting, you know, these rookies to not jump out to this crazy hot start and start dominating, but it didn't. It honestly took shorter than I thought, especially for Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we just expect that with most of these high ranked rookies, and it's going to happen with Adley when he comes up. He might take 50 to 100 plate appearances. I think Julio Rodriguez, people are starting to take notice that he is actually a superstar, but I think people are not there yet with Bobby Witt. So I kind of wanted to bring that to people's attention, because if you can maybe snag a Bobby Witt Jr. right now, because his Fangraphs page says he's hitting 229 right now, but he's not hitting 229 right now. He's a 300 hitter over his last 60 plate appearances, and I think that's what he's going to be the rest of the season. And he really is that 20 to 25 home run guy with 20 to 25 stolen bases. Trade for him now, and you might get him at a discount, but in 2 weeks, you're not getting him at a discount.
And J-Rod as well. So let's break into our first hot start. And since you gave us kind of the lowdown on the rookies, I'll start with my first player who's off to a crazy hot start, and that's Josh Bell of the Washington Nationals, currently slashing 343, 442 on base, 529 slugging to give him a 971 OPS. No speed, of course, ranks in the 11th percentile, but nobody was expecting speed out of the 260-pound, 6'4" first baseman out of Washington, but he is giving you 4 home runs, ton of RBIs, 21. That was the most shocking thing, because I know he's hitting behind Juan Soto, and of course Juan Soto's going to get on plenty, but I thought, okay, that's the only run that he's going to be able to drive in this year.
And
but
Juan
really,
Soto has 6 home runs and 8 RBIs.
Exactly. So my thing is with Josh Bell is I think I was sleeping on this Nationals offense a little bit. I think he has more opportunities for not only run scoring, he already has 20, but also RBIs, which makes him that much more impactful. And Colby, I believe in this batting average. This is just a guy who I feel like has been underrated for a long time and is just raking. And I'm not saying he's going to hit 343, but would I be shocked to see him hit 30 home runs and hit 280? Not even a little bit.
Well, what's crazy to me is he went from being a guy that in 2020 struck out 27% of the time. Then last year cut that back 10%. He struck out 18% of the time. This year, he's striking out less than 10% of the time, 9.8% strikeout rate right now, which his BABIP right now of 360 is got to come down. For his career, he's a 290 BABIP. But when you're putting the ball in play more, that's only going to help your average. So really, yeah, I could see him being a 290, 300 hitter right now with the way he's putting the ball in play.
And when you're talking about putting the ball in play, it matters where that ball in play is and how hard that ball is hit, because he does have a 50% ground ball rate,
which helps the average.
Which does help the average. And also he's hitting the living piss out of the ball, Colby. 89th percentile in max exit velocity. His hard hit rate isn't amazing, but more often than not, he's putting good wood on the ball. I think Josh Bell is someone, for example, I've already put out trade feelers for Josh Bell, maybe trade an arm here or there. I just really want him because I feel like nobody really gives a shit about Josh Bell in Washington, while he can really be a very valuable contributor for your fantasy team.
And over the last 3 years, Peter, he's averaged a home run per fly ball rate around 23, 24%. Right now, he's at 15%. So I think he's actually putting more balls in the air this year than he did last year.
Oh, yes.
And his home run per fly ball rate is lower. We could be seeing even more home runs from him with a higher average. I agree. Even though he's off to such a hot start, it might cool down a little, but this is a guy that you're not, don't sell. Do not sell.
Don't sell. This is a guy to keep. What about your hot start?
My hot start is a little bit different because I don't know whether to buy or sell this guy, and I kind of want you to give me the answer.
Okay, cool.
It's Seiya Suzuki, who got off to a roaring start. We all know how good he was through his first, 15 games of his career. We're like, oh my goodness. For the first 46 plate appearances, man, he had a 270 WRC plus, was hitting the ball so hard, 24% strikeout rate, 28% walk rate. He had an amazing approach. We were like, wow, is this guy really it? Like he could be an MVP candidate, and his MVP odds were rising incredibly. And yet I think pitchers have figured him out, Peter, because his last 65 plate appearances, 177 average, which you're like, okay, everybody goes through a cold streak. That's fine. Batters do it all the time. But he's lost his approach. 32% K rate over that span, 4% walk rate. His out of zone swing percentage over that span, 31%.
Yeah. Through
his first 54 plate appearances, when he was walking 28% of the time, not striking out as much, that out of zone swing percentage was just 12%. So I think pitchers are figuring him out, and he's kind of getting away from really his approach right now. And I don't know whether you should sell him because I think he can figure it out. But if the opportunity presents itself and somebody still has in their mind, wow, Seiya Suzuki was roaring at the beginning of the season. Yeah, he's tailed off, but everybody goes through hot streaks and cold streaks. He does it. To me, it's a potential sell if you get the right deal.
Potentially. I think you're right, because I predicted at the beginning of the season, I wrote an article on justbaseball.com. We talked about him on the Just Baseball show not too long ago. And Jack really brought up a good point. They decided we're going to challenge him in the zone. So he's not walking because he's not seeing that many balls. They're saying, here it is, hit it. And right now he's not hitting it. But honestly, I predicted him at the beginning of the year as a guy who's going to slash 265 or 270, 350 with like a 460-ish slugging. I think right where he is right now, kind of sitting with an 833 OPS, a couple bombs, a steal, that's the production. If you took home with this first month, I would elongate this over the season, and that's what I think we're going to get. We're not going to get the crazy hot start where he's walking a ton, not striking out, hitting every single ball 110 miles an hour, but we're also not going to get the guy who's striking out 32%, only walking 4%, and not hitting the ball with authority anymore. I think that pitchers made their adjustments. He's smart enough to then make his adjustments, and it's going to be a cat and mouse game all year long. It's going to be like this. But I think at the end of the year, we're going to see around an 810 to 840 OPS with the slash line I spoke about before.
Yeah, I really hope so, because he really has lost his approach, and I hope he finds his approach. I don't really have any shares of Seiya Suzuki, so I really no skin in the game here. But I just wanted to give the listeners kind of a look into how he has been hitting and the changes that have been made apparent by his approach. And I think just the way that pitchers are attacking him. He can't hit off-speed pitches right now, but they're actually attacking him with fastballs first pitch almost every single time, saying, like you said, go and get it.
Go get it. That's what they're doing. Go see what you can do with this pitch. And it's going to take him a little bit to adjust. But like I said, I think after the full season, we're going to look and say, wow, he had an 833 OPS on May 11th. He had an 833 OPS on October 1st or whenever the season ends. That's what I think we're dealing with Seiya Suzuki. Personally, he's on one of my fantasy teams in another league. I'm not selling. I'm just not trying to sell right now. I'm just keeping him and we're just riding the train. Do you want me to break into my next hot start guy?
Yeah, you do it, man. Do you?
Let's do it. How about we're going to start with a pitcher this time, and his name is Chad Kuhl of the Colorado Rockies. Colby, what if I told you that Chad Kuhl right now has a 1.82 ERA for the freaking Colorado Rockies? There's a reason they got this 29-year-old from Pittsburgh, and it's not because he's a flamethrower. It's not because he's going to revolutionize the Colorado Rockies rotation, but because his pitch mix matches up there. He's a mostly slider sinker guy. While the sinker has been getting crushed, the slider is basically optimized for Coors Field. I mean, guys are hitting 050 against the pitch. They clearly found something in Chad Kuhl that they like. My only thing with Chad Kuhl, and kind of like Seiya Suzuki, I want to throw it back to you. The sinker is one of the most affected pitches in Coors Field, as well as the changeup and the curveball. Those are 3 of his 4 most used offerings. He just has to throw his 4-seam fastball better. I mean, he just never throws it, but I think it might be a better pitch than the sinker. I wonder if he's going to fool around with his pitch optimization over the season. But what I know is that slider is going to work at Coors Field. And it's not like this guy's a 1.82 ERA and a 5.78 expected ERA. Like, it's just shocking. And where all the numbers are pointing to regression. He has a 2.92 xERA. Now, is he going to be a guy who has an under 3 ERA this year? Probably not. But will he have an ERA under 4? I think he really will.
Man, I don't know what to say about Chad Kuhl right now. I just feel like he is getting incredibly lucky. Like, Chad Kuhl's cool right now, but I don't know if he's going to be so cool by the All-Star break. And just looking at left on base percentage, 86% right now. For his career, he's right around 72%, which is normal. But he's not giving up home runs right now, which concerns me. Like, 7% home run for fly ball rate for his career. He's around 13%. Last year was 17%. Year before that, 19%, then 15%. And maybe it's because Coors, the balls aren't flying out of there like they were last year, and just offense has been down. I think you're right about that slider, though. That slider is a different pitch. For whatever reason, 50% whiff rate's absolutely legit, and he's throwing that the most of any pitch he's throwing right now. I think it all, Peter, I think it all comes down to how do you want to deploy Chad Kuhl? Because, you know, he could be a guy where you're starting him depending where he's pitching. And I think he's better than he was last year, but 1.82 ERA right now just seems fishy and low, and like he's just overperforming a lot of his metrics right now, and hard hit rate is the highest of his career as well.
Yeah, he's absolutely overperforming. We will not see a 1.82 ERA at the end of the 2022 season, but if I gave you a 3.9 ERA line, you taking the over or the under?
That's a good line. I might have to take the over just because he's pitching in Coors, and it's the first month of the season. Balls have been dead, but as we move into May and June and the warmer months, I think it's going to get hot, and Coors will start flying. We're going to see more of those like 12-8 games in Coors Field, but you could go under there.
That's why I brought it up, because I wanted to ask you, because I was kind of interested in possibly trading for him. Just kind of like, oh, someone thinks he's some fluke, and it's like, oh, I can trick this guy. And I'm like, yeah, but we all know he's a fluke. Like, sell him to me on the low. That's what I was thinking about doing, because I do believe in the slider at Coors Field.
Peter, do you believe in like the stress that comes with just rostering a Coors pitcher in fantasy, though?
I don't love it, I'll be honest. But what I'm seeing is a guy who can pitch a Coors, and not a lot of guys can pitch a Coors. Like, we have a couple, German Marquez and Antonio Sensatella. I mean, Kyle Freeland and Gomber can piece together outings at Coors, but those are the guys that really, and German Marquez has been straight up dreadful. So I'm saying if there is one right now, because Antonio Sensatella is going to strike out like one guy per 9 innings. It's actually
to me, I don't think you need to trade for Chad Kuhl. I think he's going to be a guy that's on the waiver wire in the next 3 weeks.
It's interesting. I don't know about that. We'll see. But I think he's just a guy to monitor. In my opinion, if I can get him on the low, I would. But if someone is enthralled with him, I think it's okay to sell him.
It's fine. Do you want me to move on to mine?
Of course I do.
Okay. Mine's an interesting one because I think we talked about him a couple weeks ago as a waiver wire ad. And if you added him on your team 2 weeks ago when we told you to, you're reaping the benefits. Brad Keller, Kansas City Royals right now, 1.74 ERA through 5 starts. And he pitches tonight against the Texas Rangers. And he has been brilliant, man. He's getting ground balls like he does, not giving up home runs, not giving up much hard contact. All of the peripherals actually look pretty good. A 3 xERA, a 3.47 xFIP, right? And you look at that and you go, that's pretty good. That's pretty solid. Colby, why are you telling me to sell Brad Keller? Well, for one, he doesn't strike out many guys. And Ks, as we know, are a category, but they also predict future success. If you're striking out guys, you will usually do better than guys that don't strike out batters.
You're not wrong.
but Brad Keller has succeeded so heavily this year because of the powder puff schedule he's faced.
Yep.
You can look at it and you go, okay, he faced Cleveland, but that was to start the year. That was the third game of the season.
When they couldn't hit.
When
they weren't hitting at the beginning.
Exactly. The one good offense he's faced this year, the Mariners, he gave up 3 earned runs and had his worst start of the entire year. He gets the Rangers tonight. Not a good offense. They've been somewhat hot as of late, but they're not a good offense. If he pitches well tonight and keeps that ERA low and maybe goes 6-7 innings, he's a guy that can go deep into games. Maybe he goes 6, maybe he goes 7 shutout. You better get on the phone to trade Brad Keller because the schedule for the Royals is about to get much more difficult. And I don't think that Brad Keller can sustain what he's doing right now without getting strikeouts.
So funny. In one of my leagues, I already traded Brad Keller away. And it's funny, but this is, and it's not that I don't want to spend more time on Brad Keller, but I think this makes sense is because I traded Brad Keller for Brendan Rodgers. And Brendan Rodgers is one of my guys who's off to a slow start. But before we get into the slow starts, let's talk about Prize Picks, because Prize Picks sponsors Not Gambling Advice. They're our partners on the podcast, and Colby and I have been just dicing together these Prize Picks. And you guys know me. I know it's not gambling advice, but I am not a parlay guy. I'm just generally not a parlay guy. So when we were working with Prize Picks, I was like, okay, this is cool, but generally I don't really want to place parlays. But what I've been noticing on Prize Picks is all these lines are better. The odds I get are better, and I can pick, oh, do I want 2.25? Do I only want 2 of these to hit? Do I want 3 of these to hit? You can kind of play around with it. And in most books, you just can't. And also, Colby and I have so much fun putting these together, but you've really been on the forefront of these too, because you're really big into the DFS space. You're really into player props. I'm more into full games, first 5. So I sometimes kind of give it over to you and then we talk about it, but I want to hear really how you put together your Prize Pick lineup every day.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's a really good question because I think there's some strategies. I'm still kind of getting my feet wet here with Prize Picks, but I'm starting to get a feel for some good strategies that I think we can make money throughout the season using Prize Picks. For one, you mentioned how they have the flex play and the power play. So the flex play is where if you get 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4, whatever it may be, you get basically your money back plus a little bit. Mm-hmm. But that actually decreases the amount you get paid out if you get all of them right. I don't think it's worth it to have that insurance. I actually think that you should always go for the power play, go for the big dollar amount, because you're really capping your winnings by doing the flex play. And over time, I think we're going to get enough of these right that the power plays are going to pay off. The other thing I've been noticing is I don't think it's worth it to do 4 plays, to do 5 plays. The payout might be higher, but I think our bread and butter is going to be doing 2 picks, 3 picks sometimes. Now going to how I actually pick the plays, right? You can go and look at teams' K rates. For like, say I had Michael Kopech last night. He had been on a roll, striking out 5, 6, 7 batters in most of his starts. He got the Cleveland Guardians, who had been striking out at the top of their lineup, not much. Back end of that lineup strikes out a ton. And I was like, okay, Michael Kopech's going to tear through the back end of that lineup, but the line was lower. So on DraftKings or BetMGM or whatever the book is, his line was 5, sometimes 6 strikeouts. But on Prize Picks, 5 strikeouts. And I felt confident. Okay, I like what I'm seeing for Michael Kopech as of late. I like the lineup he's facing, and I like the line, Michael Kopech. Then we went to the first 5, or the Nerfy. We had the under in that game. So I said, okay, I like Nestor Cortez. I like John Gray. Yankees are struggling. Rangers are struggling. We have the under already. Nerfy's going to hit. The Nerfy line on other books was like -140, -150. On Prize Picks, it's even.
Yeah. And I mean, we could just get great Nerfies too. And also, I know you and I too, I know one of the Prize Picks we lost when we're taking outs. Like, for example, I remember we took Logan Webb outs. I'm not sure exactly if that one hit, but it's so hard to Yeah, okay, that's what happened, because it's so hard to predict how many outs they're going to get, but I feel like strikeouts and Nerfies are at least the best ones to predict. So that's what we've really been on lately, is the over-under strikeouts, because like he just said with Brad Keller, it's like that's predictive of success, and especially when you're facing a lineup that strikes out more than another lineup would, and that matchup just makes sense. Maybe they pitch better at home versus on the road. Like, we're looking at all the home road splits and how teams are playing really lately.
There's some big discrepancies in teams, Peter. Like the top strikeout team might be striking out 25, 26, 27% of the time. And the lowest strikeout rate team is like 18, 19%. So you can get some really, really good value on just picking your matchups with guys that have pitches that can get a certain lineup out.
Exactly. And well, let's now, so we talked about Prize Picks. We love Prize Picks, and that's in the episode link description as well. We're going to be dropping those every single day on Twitter, because we just get on heaters with these things. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. We're just getting on heaters with these things. And if you want to join us, download Prize Picks, use code JustBaseball. You get a deposit match as well. You get free money for just hanging out with us, and we get to play all season long. You know, we're going through ups and downs. Happens. You know, I was on a bad losing streak. Tigers A's under just hit 15 outs to sweat. Bang, we nailed it. So we go through ups and downs. Prize Picks has been more up than down, and we're going to keep rolling with it. So Colby, let's transition to our slow starts, and I'll talk about Brendan Rodgers again, because I know we just talked about Prize Picks in the middle of that, but the reason why I traded Brad Keller for Brendan Rodgers is because he's another guy who's at Coors, and he's gotten off to a really, really slow start. I mean, the dude is hitting 169, 222 on base percentage, 241 slugging to give him a 463 OPS. And I'm like, wow, I was, shining light on this guy, that he was going to be next up, the next heir apparent to the Trevor Story, the Troy Tulowitzki. He's 25 years old. Fine. I mean, he's a first round pick, 3rd overall out of high school. This was finally the time. And then he gives me a 463 OPS in the month of April. But the thing is, Colby, and I really wanted to throw this at you too, because I still believe in this guy. He's still in the 70th percentile of max exit velocity, 64th percentile of hard hit rate. And I know you're going to talk about where exactly those balls are going. But last year, his OPS was almost identical through the first month too. This could just be a guy who starts off slow, because in May last year, that's when he first started, he had a 460, 470 OPS. Next month, 908 OPS. So this is a guy who I think is going to really bounce back, but I'm really curious what you think about Brendan Rodgers of the Rockies.
I was all over Brendan Rodgers coming into the year, and for good reason. Like you said, he finished the season really, really strong last year. And just from a fantasy perspective, guys that play in Coors Field are so valuable in fantasy, because most of their expected numbers, they outperform their expected numbers. And it's a pretty good lineup. He has a lot of run and RBI chances in that lineup. CJ Cron is mashing. I mean, Chris Bryant hasn't even been playing. When Chris Bryant comes back, he's another guy that adds that lineup that is another guy put on base for Brendan Rodgers to drive him in. I think that this is just bad luck to start the year. I mean, hard hit rate looks great. Yeah, you mentioned that he doesn't put many balls in the air, but I don't think it really matters, because I think it only increases his chance to have a higher average, and he puts enough balls in the air. We know Brendan Rodgers is not going to be a 25 or 30 home run guy. It's just not who he is. He could push 20 home runs, but in, a solid year, he's 15 to 18 home runs, a decent average in Coors Field. And
you don't think he can hit 20? I think
he could hit
20 plus home run guy.
I think he could hit 20, but I think that's like,
I know what you're saying, not 30, but I think 20 plus is what we should expect.
I think too, he's been booted down in this lineup currently, right? He's hitting 6th, 7th in this lineup.
He sucks right now, quite honestly, but he's not going to finish 6th.
He's been hot as of late a little bit. And I think if he's on your waiver wire, if people kind of gave up hope on Brendan Rodgers, it's actually a pretty good time to pick him up and see where he goes over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Because if he starts hitting again, he could jump up in this lineup either to the 5 hole or the 2 or 3 hole. And that's really valuable. He's as cheap as you'll ever get him. He's been on waiver wires for me. I don't know about you. You said you traded for him, but I've got him off of waiver wires places.
Yeah, deeper league. What do you think about my Brad Keller for Brendan Rodgers trade? Do you like that trade, or are you like, what are you doing? I know you're just saying you're selling Brad Keller. I feel like that was a good trade by me.
No, I think that's a great trade. I think that's your classic sell high and buy low. And
bunch of idiots.
If you had a need, at second base, because I know in some leagues like second base can be kind of thin. That's a really good trade.
Thank you, my friend. Let's hear your slow start.
My slow start on the hitting side of things is quite interesting because he had the hottest start. He quite honestly had the hottest start. Giancarlo Stanton got off to an insane start. He hit home run in 3 straight games against the Red Sox to begin the season. He has tailed off since then. But what if I told you Giancarlo Stanton also has the highest hard hit rate of his career? And he's putting more balls in play than ever. Or more balls in the air, that is.
Yeah.
Last 60 plate appearances per year, 283 average, 26% K rate, right? You look at his Fangraphs page, you go, oh boy, 33% K rate. What the heck is happening here? That was just the start of the season. I think he's finally making a change at the plate. He's not striking out as much. He's putting more balls into play, putting more balls in the air, highest hard hit rate of his career. And he's 26 right now in xWOBA, but his WOBA is like 100 points less than his xWOBA. And to me, it seems like a buy.
I rarely miss an inning of Yankee baseball. And I can tell you, everyone's like, oh, Joey Gallo, he's so unlucky. No, Giancarlo Stanton is unlucky. Giancarlo Stanton, I know that Joey Gallo is going to strike out, and I know Giancarlo Stanton is going to strike out too, and he's going to have those embarrassing moments where you're like, wow, he just missed that ball by 6 feet. How is that even possible? But Giancarlo Stanton has been getting way more unlucky, in my opinion, than Joey Gallo when I turn on the TV. Giancarlo Stanton, he might hit 250 for the rest of the year, but his expected batting average is like right in the middle of 250. My thing is, he's going to start walking way more than he is. 5.3% walk rate to 10.9% last year, and it's been near 16% in other years. He's going to start seeing more pitches. He is just way too good of a player for me to think that, oh, now he's off to a slow start. Like maybe he's over the hill. Slow start. I mean, he had 6 home runs in April last year, but, he was an 815 OPS guy in 2021. He was a 782 OPS guy in his first month in June last year, even taking you back to 2018, historically slow starter, and he's getting unlucky. This is a straight buy. I'm glad you brought him to the table because, yeah, he's going to strike out. And if your league is big on strikeouts, like that's one of the killers. Maybe he isn't as big of a buy, but I mean, this guy 100th percentile in freaking everything that's hitting the ball hard. He's really confident. 40 home runs.
I mean, this is a guy that was being drafted, top one. You're the top 100, and now you're probably going to get him for much less than that. I think he's a great buy.
I agree. Absolute great buy. So now let's move on to my slow starter, who again, Colby, it's like we should come more prepared for these, but we do prepare, but we just have so many questions that we have to run by each other because we like to kind of come with our guys and then just kind of pitch them so we can kind of get organic responses. And this guy, my heart can't give up on him, but my brain is looking and saying, you know what? Charlie Morton of the Atlanta Braves might be a bit over the hill. Curveball, disgusting still. We don't even have to worry about the curveball. He's throwing it 38% of the time, and it's still a great pitch. But the problem is, Colby, everything else is getting killed. The 4-seam fastball is getting pelted this year, and it's a tick down in velocity so far. The sinker also getting destroyed, and the sinker got even destroyed last year. And he hasn't been throwing the cutter that much because the cutter kind of got hit last year. So I think he's kind of, one of those pitches that got hit. You take it back a little bit, and then the changeup he barely throws. So the curveball is still great, but I'm worried that all the other pitches are ticking down. And the fact that he's just 38 years old and coming off a leg injury from last year, currently right now, just to let you know kind of where he's at, 5.65 ERA, 28 strikeouts, or 28 innings, 23 strikeouts, 1.64 whip. He's currently 2-3. This is a guy who probably will luck into some wins just because he's on the Braves, and the Braves are going to heat up in the summer. But other than that, what do you think? Because my heart says, what are you doing, Peter? You're not giving up on Charlie Morton. He's going to figure it out. But then my brain is saying, look at the pitches.
Something is up here with Charlie Morton. Last year, 185 innings pitched, 3.34 ERA. Everything was awesome. Struck out almost 11 batters per 9. And at age 37 was in the Cy Young race. This year, he's a different arm, man. Where did the command go? 13% walk rate. You look at his fastball heat map on Baseball Savant, and there's just a red circle right in the middle of the plate. So it's no surprise that his fastball is getting beaten up. Obviously, the curveball is always going to be good. That's just going to be his out pitch that he's going to rely on a ton. But if he's a tick down, he's losing command. He's walking a lot more guys. I do worry that maybe Charlie Morton age is catching up to him a little bit, and which is understandable. This guy is 38 at a high level now for 6 straight years. And it's got to take a toll on him eventually. I'm very concerned about Charlie Morton. I don't currently own him in any leagues.
Me neither, but I really wanted to talk about him because I like him so much.
I think the problem is with Charlie Morton is I don't think there's going to be many buyers out there for a guy at 38 years old, doesn't have much upside. The upside is that he's going to bounce back to what he was, but I think people are concerned that at age 38, that's not going to happen. So at this point, I think the safest option is you hold him for another 3 to 4, maybe 5 starts, see what happens.
That can get dicey. That's the thing, because he just keeps giving us shit starts over and over again.
And you can bench him through that. I think you can bench him through that, right? But yeah, it's tough. If there's a guy on your waiver wire that you feel more confident in, I think you just gotta go for it.
My main point is Charlie Morton is not just throw him out there to start, whatever. Look at his matchup. If he has a bad matchup, okay, sure. He's at home, okay, sure. But play him like that, because this is not the same Charlie Morton we're accustomed to.
Absolutely. I don't even know if it's matchup dependent at this point. He got beat up by the Cubs. He gets beat up even by teams that aren't amazing.
I'm trying to be nice.
You can't be nice. You can't be nice in fantasy baseball, Peter.
And before you give us your last slow start, we got to talk about my bookie. 162 games of baseball season can feel like an absolute grind to watch, but you can put the excitement back into each and every game with my bookie. Run lines, money lines, and props galore. Nobody gives you the opportunities to win than my bookie. And getting started is super simple. Deposit $300, play with 200 instantly. All you got to use promo code JustBaseball to claim the MyBookie deposit bonus. Use code JustBaseball and you get a free $200 just to play. Whether you're a diehard fan or a newcomer to the sport, there's never been a better time to join the MyBookie family. Go ahead and sign up today using promo code JustBaseball to secure your first deposit bonus up to 1,000 freaking schmackaroons with MyBookie. Whatever you put in, they'll meet halfway all the way up to $1,000. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
I like free money. I really enjoy free money.
It's funny. I wrote an article way back, right when we first started the website, and it was the Just Baseball Guide to Sports Betting. And I always said, use promos, people. Use promos. This is just free money. And MyBookie has great lines as well. I've been using MyBookie as well. Sometimes they have better lines than the other ones. More often than not, they do. And if I'm getting free money, why wouldn't you use it? You know what I'm saying? Always, always, always. I cannot repeat this enough. And this is not just because we're working now with MyBookie and we think you should use the bonus. This is just common knowledge. I wrote it back. If you want to fact check me, I literally wrote it back a year ago. Use promo codes. It is just, they're giving you free money. Use it.
We are giving you free money to tail us and win more. So do it.
Talking about give us your slow starter.
Okay, my slow starter, another interesting one. Like you brought up Charlie Morton. I think that's a great question because he's been so dominant in the past. And could he turn it around? Our answer was, I don't know, maybe. I'm going to come to the table with a guy that I think we might have a similar answer, but I think we might come out of it with, okay, this guy's got to turn around. He's too good. Brandon Woodruff, Milwaukee Brewers. He is a consensus coming to this year. I ranked him as my number 9 starting pitcher coming to the season. He was a consensus.
You ranked him number 8.
Consensus right top 10 starting pitcher, right? But so far, he's been getting beaten up. 5.97 ERA, 44% hard hit rate against, and his velocity right now is down 0.8 miles an hour, which isn't the most encouraging thing ever. But there's also a lot to be happy about with what Brandon Woodruff has done this year. 3.55 xERA, 3.57 FIP, 3.01 SIERA is incredible. That's towards the top of the league. His K rate is in line with what it was last year. He's getting beaten up on that fastball, but the other pitches look really good. And, I just think he's got to turn it around. It's another guy that's too good of a pitcher to be a 5.97 ERA guy with the peripherals looking not spectacular. It's not like he has a 2.5 FIP, but maybe he's just a slow starter. He's figuring it out. I don't think he's injured. I mean, the velocity is down a little bit, but not enough to where I'm like, that's too much. What do you think?
If anybody in your league is dumb enough to trade you Brandon Woodruff for some no name, do it now. Go get Brandon Woodruff. If we're talking about every expected stats, they're saying he's going to turn it around. And Brandon Woodruff, I don't even care if the expected stats said he was going to turn it around or not, because I just believe in it. So not only do I fully believe in it, but also all the numbers point to just a resurgence coming in the second half, or at least through the next couple of months as well. The problem is, yes, you're right. The fastball and the sinker have been hit a little bit, but he's just been accustomed to some bad luck. And what I really like that Brandon Woodruff has done this year is he's starting to throw the changeup a little bit more. That changeup is one of the best changeups in baseball. I really think so, Colby. It has great movement to it. It has great shape. It has low spin. So it's just a good pitch, and he can locate it well. If you look at the heat map, like it's right inside the lefties, away from right-handed pitchers. You can see how well he locates it on that outside part of the plate to right-handers. He's just, he throws it more to lefties, but in the heat map, I was a righty, so I'm like, oh, outside the righties. But he actually throws it more to lefties. But that's the thing. I like what he's done. They've started to hit his fastball a little bit, 96.5 to 95.8. Like he's still throwing the sinker pretty hard. I'm just not really worried about Brandon Woodruff. And if anybody is willing to trade him to me, bring him to me. I'll take him. You don't like him? I don't care. I'll take him. Give him to me.
Yeah. Talk about a guy that's unlucky. 59% left on base percentage. It's 81% last year, 80% the year before that. That's gotta regress. Like that has got to. How about
regress. The xERA of 3.65 compared to his 5.97 ERA? This is the almost no-brainer resurgence guy. He's a top 10 for a reason. He got off to a little bit of a slow start, like ho-hum, and maybe he screwed you to the first couple of months. Like, I'm sorry, he might have, because we ranked him 10. You're like, ooh, I gotta get, but he's just that dude. He is that dude. He got off to a little bit of a slow start.
It just goes back to not overreacting. It really goes back to not overreacting. Yeah.
Agreed. And that'll do it for this episode of Not Gambling Advice. Those were our hot starters. I got my slow starters. Unless is that the end? I think we're good. Yeah, we went through all the hot starters. And slow starters.
Should we preview what we're going to start doing every other Friday?
Absolutely, we should. That's a great idea. We're going to start doing a mailbag. We do mailbags on the Just Baseball Show, where we get a bunch of questions in from Twitter and on Instagram. We're going to start making posts at gambling_advice. That's the name of our Twitter. It's not gambling advice. We know this, but that's our Twitter at gambling_advice. It's in the episode description as well. Leave your questions on there. Don't leave them yet. If you want to DM us, we're always available for DM, but what we're going to do is we're going to make a post and then ask your questions under there, similar to the Just Baseball Show. And we'll answer all the fantasy or gambling questions. Any questions about anything, we're here to answer them for you. So that'll be on Friday. Check out our chalkboard. That's our group chat where we're giving out all of our bets, bonus picks, prize picks are going in there, bunch of different stuff. That's in the episode description as well. Could be anything else before we go.
I like how you just influence the viewers to slide into your DMs, because I think that's cute.
I'm just saying, you want to leave me a question?
24/7. You want fantasy advice? We got you.
Not 24/7 because I mean I gotta sleep. We gotta sleep, Colby.
You sleep?
Not that much. With that, thank you, everybody.